Now don't get me wrong, I'm not calling Prince the devil. But Lucifer was the god of music, of seduction, the great manipulator, and some say the same about Prince. Women who played with Ouija boards with him, women who say he hypnotized them, one who said she was forced to call him Messiah, others who swear he levitated, psychics who claim his lovers came to them, broken and spellbound. So the question isn't just, did Prince use sex magic? It's, what did he unlock in the people who loved him? Because decades later, they still can't let him go. As I always do, when making videos like these, I am making no factual claims here. Everything that I am about to share with you are from interviews, books, magazines, gossip forums, and some of the lovers themselves. Do not take my word for it because these are not my words. I just take everything that I read, make it into a story form, and ask you, what do you think about it? Take everything here with a grain of salt. But also, enjoy yourself. And let's get into it. Control. So many people want it, and they usually want it over other people. Occultic control, that's another level, and one of the strongest ways to get it, but how? For centuries, people have turned to the occult to gain power over energy, over emotions, even over others. From rituals to energy work, the idea of influencing the unseen isn't new. But what happens when that power is used in the most intimate place of all? The bedroom. Some call it energy work, some call it sex magic, others wonder if it crosses a line. And when it comes to Prince, there are whispers that he understood the metaphysical, that he knew how to seduce, enchant, and bind in ways that went far beyond the physical. Some say it was mutual. Others aren't so sure. But the result was the same, a kind of hold none of them could seem to shake, even after decades, even after death. And if you follow the trail of stories, clues, and confessions, you may find it goes deeper than anyone expected. Maybe it started with him, or maybe we'll learn it started long before he was even born. And we'll get to that later, but first, let's discuss what exactly is sex magic, and then we'll go down the rabbit hole to see if Prince engaged in this at all. Let's go. So, what is sex magic? Sex magic is a form of ritual or spiritual practice that uses sexual energy, especially during orgasm, as a powerful force to manifest intentions, unlock altered states of consciousness, channel spiritual or creative energy, bond individuals psychically or emotionally. It's not about pleasure alone, it's about directing that energy toward a purpose. You may ask, what is the purpose of sex magic? In occult traditions like Thelema, founded by Aleister Crowley, or chaos magic, sex is seen as a portal. During orgasm, the conscious mind quiets, making you more open to suggestion or spiritual contact. Practitioners use that open state to implant desires, communicate with spirits, or bind themselves or others energetically. Some use it for self-transformation, others for power, control, or influence. It can be solo or with a partner. In partner work, one may play a more dominant magician role, while the other becomes the energetic conduit or vessel. And I'll show you later how Prince did just that with his lovers. But what are some of the common ritual elements involving energy work or sex magic? Well, it consists of chanting or affirmations. Symbolic tools like candles, oils, incense, sigils, meditation, visualization, or breathwork. Prince's song Breathe is a perfect example of him using this technique. Binaural beats or frequency-based music used to alter brainwaves. Hypnosis or trance states bathing or cleansing rituals before sex to purify or prep the body as sacred space are all very common for ritualistic energy work. So, with us now knowing what sex magic is, let's venture into seeing the ways Prince may very well have engaged in these activities. Let's start with the woman who helped him open the darkest door, Vanity. They were dark souls drawn to each other, and she's acknowledged that at times he could really act like the devil. But yet, no matter how terrible she thought he was, she never stopped wanting him. Vanity, born Denise Matthews, was more than just a muse. To many, she was his female reflection. Beautiful, wild, rebellious, and steeped in darkness. Their connection wasn't just romantic, it was alchemical. Two chaotic forces drawn to each other like magnets in a storm. Vanity and Prince didn't just share a stage, they shared something heavier, something harder to explain. Their relationship was toxic, explosive, and undeniably spiritual. She admitted they dabbled in the dark arts. They played with Ouija boards together. She practiced mirror gazing, a form of divination where some believe you can speak to the dead. Together, they flirted with the spiritual and possibly the supernatural. But why? Because when playing with the dark arts, it is often used as a tool for manifestation. People usually use spirituality to manifest their deepest desires in life, and the greatest way to activate the spell is through sex magic. And with this couple, they use their sex openly. Prince often recorded their most private sessions for the backmasking of his songs, and all subliminally for his fans to hear and indulge in. And he even wanted Vanity 6 to use their image to hypnotize the masses, especially men, according to Vanity's words in her diary. But none of this seemed to just be about sex for them, although that was part of their connection. It seemed deeper than that, more spiritual, more dangerous, possibly domination on Prince's behalf. He was known to be extremely controlling, possibly due to his own fear of abandonment, a wound carried from his childhood, compounded by insecurities about his size and masculinity, and an almost spiritual obsession with maintaining power over everything and everyone around him. Vanity, in turn, said he acted like he was God himself and often believed it, but that was the point. Prince often made the quote, "Everything you think is true." So maybe to make it as far as he did and to rule the way he did, he had to believe that. Ultimately, their love was brutal. She later said he tried to abuse her, he cheated, lied, and controlled, and still she had the hardest time letting him go. And even when she finally did, she still couldn't fully let go. Even after she left, even after years of separation, she wrote about him. She dreamed about him. Even while knowing how he was, she tried repeatedly to rekindle what they had. Even in the mid-90s, years after they had split, she asked him to marry her, in which he declined. After everything, what kind of hold makes a woman do that? Some say it was trauma bonding between them. Others wonder if it was something more. Could their shared brush with the occult have created a bond deeper than desire, one that was spiritual, even metaphysical? We may never know. But Vanity's life took a dark turn. She spiraled into addiction, extreme illness, became a born-again Christian, and spent the rest of her life preaching against the very darkness she once played in. And yet, right up until her death in 2016, just 2 months before his own, she spoke of him, longed for him. This was the last Instagram post she made, and it was cryptically about him, as if the spell never broke. She just seemed to not ever get over him. But why? Why would she still want him after everything? Was it love? Was it soul ties? Or was something else binding her to him? That's the question, and it's one we'll be asking again and again in this story. Because Vanity may have been the first woman he pulled into his spiritual world, but she wasn't the last. They met when she was just 18. Jill Jones was vibrant, talented, and fiercely independent, a background vocalist who quickly became one of Prince's most enduring muses. But their relationship wasn't straightforward. They were involved for years on and off. But Jill's place in his world was often murky. Sometimes romantic, sometimes professional, sometimes painfully undefined. She's spoken out about how controlling Prince could be, emotionally intense, hot and cold, and dismissive when he held the power. Jill has never shied away from criticizing his patterns, especially the way he cycled through women and used silence as a form of punishment. Jill never said she was trapped, but even now, decades later, she still revisits what happened between them, not with fondness, but with clarity, and maybe that's what makes her different. She doesn't romanticize it, she doesn't hide from it, she just remembers. And the memories themselves tell a story, one that is filled with abuse, all emotional, financial, and physical, and yet it took her an entire decade to finally leave him. And even though she managed to get an entirely different career and married with a daughter, she to this day seems to struggle with her feelings about Prince. One minute she's making songs about how she misses him, then the next she's telling the world how he beat her ass and humiliated her in front of his other girlfriends. She's always on some kind of Prince-dedicated podcast sharing her stories, but you can clearly see that this woman is not over him. What kind of spell did he have on her, if any at all? Could it be Prince's use of tantric sex? In one of many interviews she has done about Prince, Jill has spoken about the tantric sex they'd shared. But what is Tantra? Tantra, in spiritual and metaphysical circles, is the practice of channeling sexual energy to deepen intimacy, expand consciousness, or even achieve altered states. At its core, tantric sex isn't just about physical pleasure, it's about merging energy, connecting breath, rhythm, and spirit. But like any tool, it can be used to heal or control. Some wonder whether Prince understood this deeply, how to manipulate energy in the bedroom in a way that left his partners bonded, even spiritually tethered, so that they wouldn't or couldn't leave him. Even when they left him, he was still a part of them. And speaking of Prince's use of energy manipulation in the bedroom, another way he did this was through sound, and none knew this better than his lover, Robin Power. Robin Power wasn't just another woman in Prince's long list of lovers. She was a performer, a poet, and a woman deeply attuned to both her own sexual and spiritual energy. Their connection was charged, not just with desire, but with experimentation. Robin has openly spoken about their threesomes, their metaphysical bond, and the magnetic way Prince embodied both masculine and feminine energy. For someone like Robin, that wasn't confusing. It was intoxicating. She loved that duality in him. One of the most curious things she revealed was that Prince never made love to his own music. Instead, he preferred to use binaural sounds. So what are binaural sounds? They're layered frequencies designed to alter the brain's state. That sounds something like this. Binaural beats work by playing two slightly different sound frequencies into each ear. The brain processes the difference as a third tone, creating a rhythmic, hypnotic effect. Different frequencies are believed to trigger different states. Alpha for relaxation, theta for meditation, delta for sleep, and even gamma for heightened focus or spiritual connection. Used during sex, binaural beats may help deepen emotional intimacy, heighten sensation, or even induce a trance-like state. For practitioners of sex magic, these altered states are key, because in ritual, orgasm is not just climax. It's transformation, it's energy release, it's intention. And with someone like Robin, whose own energy matched the ritualistic tone, it's possible these sessions weren't just physical. They may have been sacred even if unspoken. Because not everything between them was about music or fame. Some of it was about power, the kind you feel in your body, the kind that never leaves your soul. And the soul is where Prince seemed to want to touch people, especially his women. And one that he saw as his soulmate is the one he seemed to go deeper into the metaphysical with. She met him at just 16 years old. Mayte Garcia was a dancer with a dream, wide-eyed, talented, and still in high school when Prince locked eyes on a video of her belly dancing. That moment sparked a connection that would change both of their lives. From the beginning, Prince claimed her, told his background singer that she was going to be his wife, held on to her until she turned 18, and then just months later took her virginity when she was 19. It was the beginning of a relationship that was equal parts enchanting and controlling and bordering on forbidden. And maybe that was the appeal to Prince, the easy ability to be able to control and manipulate a young girl, and he dove deep with her. During their relationship, Mayte described being hypnotized by Prince, literally. In her book, she said he would conduct hypnosis sessions with her, and for her, she enjoyed those sessions because that was the only time he allowed her to speak freely without interrupting her. She loved those sessions because, as strange as it sounds, hypnosis was the closest she got to freedom. She wrote, "He'd take me into these trances, these explorations of other universes, other lifetimes, universal truths, and when he was ready to bring me back, he'd snap his fingers next to my ear and say, 'When you wake up, you'll know that you are loved and safe and warm.'" And supposedly, Mayte wasn't the only lover of his that he put under hypnosis. Some noted that his hairdresser Kim Berry wrote in her book that he did this with others as well. So some may ask, why did Prince do things like this? What would be the point of putting his women under hypnosis? Well, Prince wasn't just a musician, he was a mystic. He filled his life and relationships with esoteric symbolism, astrology, beliefs of reincarnation, numerology, ancient texts like the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Even his symbol, the glyph he changed his name to, fused the masculine and feminine, an alchemical blend of sexual and spiritual polarity. Mayte became the bride of that symbol, and in a way, the first public participant in his newly transformed identity. Let's also look at exactly what hypnosis is and how it's used. Hypnosis is a trance-like state of heightened focus, concentration, and suggestibility. During hypnosis, a person may appear relaxed, but their subconscious mind becomes more accessible, making them more open to suggestions, ideas, or emotional influence. It's not sleep. It's not supposed to be used for mind control, but it can be used as a tool of influence, for healing, but also for manipulation. When used ethically, hypnosis can help with smoking cessation, phobias, chronic pain, PTSD therapy, which Mayte has written about being abused as a child, and Prince allegedly was too. This could have been one of the bonding reasons for their sessions together. But hypnosis, in the wrong hands, the same techniques can be used to lower mental defenses, bypass critical thinking, plant suggestions that stick emotionally or psychologically, and create a false sense of safety, intimacy, or oneness with the hypnotist. This emotional vulnerability is why hypnosis can feel intensely intimate or deeply invasive, and one may find themselves smitten or spellbound by the hypnotist. Because she described these sessions as being the only times she was allowed to speak freely, uninterrupted, added another layer to how hypnosis became her only true form of emotional release inside an otherwise tightly controlled relationship. That duality, comfort versus control, is essential to understanding how powerful and seductive hypnosis can be when paired with spiritual or sexual intimacy, and she fell deeply in love with him. But the love came at a price. Prince controlled nearly everything in her life, her appearance, her body, even her weight. She said publicly that she'd have to weigh in for him, and if she'd gained weight, she'd be fined. Her identity became his project and eventually his possession. And yet still they married in 1996 when she was 22 and he was 37. A few months later, she gave birth to their son, Amir, who tragically died within days due to Pfeiffer syndrome. Mayte was devastated. Prince refused to grieve with her. He acted as if the child was still alive, even lying to Oprah Winfrey on national television about it. When she got pregnant again, the second pregnancy ended in another loss. And that was the breaking point. After years of control, manipulation, infidelity, emotional isolation, trauma, and being made to feel invisible and being replaced by a younger woman, Mayte left. Or rather, she was banned from Paisley Park. And with that, her time as Mrs. Nelson was over. And yet, her love for him seemed to never have really ended. Despite the pain, the trauma, and the control, Mayte still speaks of him with tenderness. She still speaks almost as if they're still together. She even believed they might find their way back to each other one day. Even though she's now engaged to someone else, to this day, Prince's shadow still lingers over her life and she still seems in love with him. All I know is if I was her new fiancé, I'd be offended. And Mayte isn't the only one still seemingly stuck. The same thing has happened with his second wife, Manuela, as well. She divorced Prince way back in 2006, married R&B artist Eric Benet, and yet Manuela also still speaks about Prince as if they're still attached. Hell, even Eric seems enthralled or obsessed with Prince himself. And it doesn't stop with these ladies either. His ex, Sheila E., still speaks of him being her eternal Valentine, and she and Prince had a falling out back in 2011 and didn't speak to each other anymore. Yet she still seems obsessed with him. They all seem spellbound, smitten, and lost in a ghost, and some may wonder if Prince always intended it to be that way. But one of the many questions are, was this part of a larger pattern for him? Prince did so many things that seem cult-like. He always spoke cryptically. He always had words like initiations or sacrifice in his vocabulary. And one thing in particular Prince did that almost all his women agreed on was his use of bathing them. Could that have been him just being romantic? Or was he preparing his women for their possible initiations? Prince seemed to have an obsession with water, especially taking baths and bathtubs. It was in his music, in his videos, and on his stages. And he brought that same obsession to the bedroom. He bathed his women, literally. Multiple former lovers, including Robin Power, Charlene Friend, Anna Fantastic, and so many others, have described how Prince insisted on bathing them himself. Some saw it as not just a romantic gesture, it almost felt ceremonial. The bathroom was lit with candles. He chose the scents, the oils, the lighting. He controlled the temperature of the water, the music, the entire sensory experience. Once with one romantic partner, she thought he was bathing her so that they could make love, but instead he brought out the Bible, read scriptures to her while bathing her, then sent her on her way. He controlled everything. And the women, they were expected to be still, silent, submissive. Bathing his lovers at first glance, it sounds tender, intimate, but look closer and something shifts. In many ancient and modern rituals, from Egyptian rites to esoteric sex magic traditions, cleansing is the first step in transformation. A bath is not just about hygiene, it's symbolic, washing away the past self, purifying the body before a spiritual offering, softening the will before submission. In spiritual and occult systems, candles amplify energy and intention. The flame becomes a conduit, the water becomes a portal, and the body, a vessel. So when Prince bathed his lovers under flickering candlelight, was he showing love or beginning a ritual? We'll probably never truly know that, but the way these women still harbor over him, he definitely left a mark. The question is, was it on purpose? But it doesn't just stop there either. Maybe Prince was trying to manipulate you too. Hypnosis wasn't just a private ritual for Prince. He embedded the concept of mind control, spiritual trance, and altered states into his music, stagecraft, and mystique as well. According to one of his bandmates or engineers, Prince was obsessed with the power of sound. Not just how it made you feel, but how it bent you, how it shaped your mood, your thoughts, your body. Whether or not Prince believed in full-blown mind control, there's no denying that he understood how to entrance a room. His use of 432 Hz tuning, a frequency some associate with healing and natural resonance, raises eyebrows. Because while many believe 432 Hz is calming, it's also deeply penetrating. It bypasses the conscious mind and sinks straight into the body, almost like a hypnotic suggestion dressed as a melody. All of this contributes to hypnosis in some kind of way. So while you're grooving to his music, that's been purposely tuned to the suggestive 432 hertz. Here are some examples of his use of symbolism and visuals. His use of spirals, geometric patterns, and surreal visuals like the eye in a lot of his works all evoke hypnotic imagery. Repetition in music, Prince's loops, mantras, and sensual lyric patterns create trance-like effects. I would play some for you, but I don't want any copyright issues. Stage presence. His slow, deliberate speech and controlled gaze, often paired with dim lighting, incense, and symbolic rituals, mimicked hypnotic settings. It's easy to lull people with these sensory effects, and he perfected this. Prince curated environments, both physical and emotional, that mirrored a hypnotic chamber, seductive, isolated, and energetically charged, and he left many spellbound. And while the majority of his listeners would only ever be seduced by him musically, it's the women who were actually with him who'd be completely consumed even to now. But is there an even more creepy or even supernatural reason behind any of this? Was Prince more than a musician, more than a magnificent lover, more than just a man? After hearing what I'm about to say, you may start to have questions. Now, throughout Prince's career, he'd always been referred to as a genius. But he was also called weird, eccentric, even ethereal and fairy-like. He even caused people around him to question his human being status. There were stories by several people who claimed to know him on the internet, of course, so take that with a grain of salt. They all said that Prince could float. So many of his associates have said that he'd literally appear out of nowhere, and you'd never even see or hear him coming until he was already there. Some have claimed to see him literally levitate from off the ground. Charlemagne the God often talks about his supernatural experience with Prince. Talks about how when he took a picture of Prince, the actual photo just showed a black box where Prince should have been. And he also speaks of Prince floating.
I meeting him once. I didn't know he was going to have that effect on me when I met him.
What was that effect? What did you do?
I couldn't think of nothing else to say other than, hey, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness too.
Oh, okay. He has that presence.
Prince was like, what?
Man.
And then he floated away, and I took a picture of him because he didn't want to take pictures. So as he was walking away, he was floating, so I took a picture, and it was in my phone. Everybody in here can attest to that, and then the picture went black.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Where the picture was on my phone, it was just a black square.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I think I said this online. I think he and Michael Jackson are just laughing at all of us.
Wow.
Singer Sinead O'Connor, whom I've spoken about her troubling encounter with Prince before. She spoke of not only seeing him levitate, but also seeing his eyes turning red when he became angry. She also accused Prince of being a devil worshiper, so she felt that is where he got his supernatural powers from. His hairdresser, Kim Berry, spoke about his ever-changing eye colors. Other associates of his say he could change his energy completely, going from seductive to sinister in seconds. Prince literally believed in communicating through telepathy and even forced his girlfriend, Charlene Friend, to only communicate with him that way. Even those who worked closest to him were wary. Singer Marva King, one of his background vocalists, once said that other employees pulled her aside in a private room, not to gossip, but to warn her. They told her they believed Prince wasn't just a man, but an alien.
The poor staff that worked with him, they started thinking that he really wasn't human. They honestly felt he was not human. They said, that's not a human being. So when they got close enough to me after almost 2 years, they said, we think you're ready now. I said, for what? They took me back in this room at Paisley, and they started pulling out all kinds of things, like a blow up of Prince. And they started talking and said, you know he's not human, right? And I'm looking at all them like, are they serious? And I said, he's not human. They said, no, think about it. Look at the shape of his eyes, the shape of his head, the size of his body. They said he never sleeps. Nobody ever sees him eating. He said, Marva, he's an alien. And I looked, and I'm thinking to myself, this is what you guys probably did.
Whatever that meant, literal or not, they said it with urgency. And yes, it sounds laughable until you hear how many strange details begin to stack up. Then the question becomes, was Prince just spiritually intense? Or was something else living inside him? Celebrity psychic Sloan Bella, the woman who went viral for predicting Diddy's downfall, claimed in one of her many lives that 3 of Prince's former girlfriends were clients of her. She said that they believed that Prince performed sex magic on them, and they also spoke about how he was not a good person. This is a sentiment that many who knew him and had intimate relationships with him all damn near say the same thing. So for 3 different women to claim they believe he performed sex magic on them, is that pure coincidence? But that's not just it. The stories from Prince's lovers weren't the only ones Sloan Bella shared. She did a few videos where she shows herself actually channeling the spirit of Prince. And through this channeling, she shared that Prince possibly really wasn't just a mere human, but conjured up by his father on purpose through occultic practices. Let me explain. In one of her more controversial claims, Sloan alleged that Prince's father, John L. Nelson, was a high-level occultist, someone who didn't just raise Prince, but conjured him. She believes Prince's soul didn't arrive through a typical birth. Instead, she claims he was part of a metaphysical ritual. That through John's dark ritual, he purposely predestined his son's arrival. The idea is that Prince wasn't just born, he was crafted. His birth was orchestrated for a specific purpose. His father supposedly implanted his own talents and energies into his son, ensuring Prince would carry forward not just musical genius, but also an otherworldly purpose. And in that process, Prince's soul was split. This is where she speaks of birth splits and dimensional cells. This means Prince's soul, or energetic essence, was fragmented at the moment he entered this world. She uses the concept of dimensional cells to explain how different energies from different realms or even other people lived inside him. Rather than being a singular soul, Prince was a patchwork of multiple energies, split between dimensions, split between selves, split between light and shadow. This also ties into Prince's astrological sign, Gemini, also known as the twins. Sloan Bella suggests that his Gemini nature wasn't just zodiac coincidence, but that it symbolized the deeper split in his being, 2, 3, or even more energies coexisting inside one body. This could explain why Prince often seemed like he was never just himself, always shape-shifting between personas, moods, and realities. Something that everyone who knew him agreed that he'd change within seconds, and you never knew which Prince you were going to get. Now, if any of this is true, this paints Prince as not merely a man, but almost an occult creation, a vessel made up of layered energies designed to magnetize, seduce, and transform those around him. Something that his father wanted but couldn't possess for himself, so he possessed his son. But if Prince truly was created, not just born, then surely his very identity would reflect that, right? Not just his music or his mannerisms, but his name. Or rather, the symbol that replaced it. Because symbols are powerful. In the occult, they're not just art, they're tools, gateways, even spells. And Prince, who was known to dabble in the dark arts, at least in his youth, then he was well aware of this type of power. So why did Prince give up his name and choose this one? Was it rebellion or ritual? Was it protest or power? Let's take a closer look at the sigil he created and left behind. Prince didn't just change his name to a symbol for marketing or protest. He referred to it as his true identity, a shape that transcended language, gender, and even logic. It fused the Mars and Venus signs, masculine and feminine, into one glyph with wavy energy lines, a horn, and a looped circle at its center. So what was this thing really? Was it a logo, a spell, a sigil designed to hold power? In magical and esoteric practices, a sigil is a personalized symbol charged with intention, often used to summon energy, protection, or transformation. They are visual codes tied to willpower, and once charged are said to operate subconsciously or energetically. Prince used this symbol in nearly every dimension of his life. His music, videos, and merchandise, his home, Paisley Park, which was lined with symbol-shaped architecture. Everything inside had this symbol on it. But more than just design, the symbol became his signature ritual. He wrote it on stage outfits. He placed it over his body in videos. He even used it to sign personal letters, replacing his name entirely. So maybe that symbol wasn't just his name replacement. Maybe it was also a part of the ritual, like the final layer in his spiritual arsenal. He gave it to the world, and with it, he may have marked all of us, hence why a lot of us still can't forget about him. Some people leave their mark with music, but Prince seemed to leave much more. He left his mark through energy, and the ones who touched it, they still can't seem to forget it. Maybe they never will. And so the question becomes, was Prince just that powerful a lover? Or was something deeper going on? Something ritualistic, energetic, even metaphysical? Did his mastery of sound, sex, and spirit give him access to more than just women's hearts, but their subconscious? We'll never truly know. So lurkers, what do you think? After everything you just heard, do you think Prince used sex magic or any other kind of occultic practice on his women? Did he possibly use it on the public too? What do you think of Sloan Bella's revelation about Prince's unique birth? Let me know your thoughts down below.